Welcome to this video on the dream fight of every UFC fan of Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones. Obviously, there's recently been development in this where Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones have met at I believe, a weightlifting competition in the UK. And Jon Jones didn't want to do a face-off. And yeah, really just going into that situation and going into if they were to fight, what I think. So they met up. Obviously, both have people with them, teams with them to go there. I'm guessing invited as sort of celebrities and people who of influence and to big up the event. Spoke to each other, sort of spoke for a bit, and then Tom Aspinall sort of politely requested a face-off, and Jon Jones didn't want to, and then sort of left it there, really. They just spoke for a bit and just sort of gave their respect to each other. Nothing really happened physically or anything like that, or anything. Everything was very, very respectful in the sense of it. But it just seemed... It just sort of confirmed Jon Jones will never fight these guys that are coming up. He wants that Stipe Miocic fight, and just to say, of my era, I'm the best light heavyweight ever. And then he wants to go. He doesn't want to be in the UFC any longer than that. Otherwise, why wouldn't he, face off with Tom Aspinall and go, yeah, I want to fight the best of the best. I want to get that championship. I want to unify the belts. I truly believe Tom Aspinall will become the champion, not by winning, but by Jon Jones just retiring. And it'll be a thing of Jon Jones going, I never got defeated at heavyweight. Which is sort of sad. I think it becomes Jon Jones definitely the best light heavyweight of all time. But there's no... I don't think from my side of things, my view, that Jon Jones losing against Tom Aspinall. Look, you're not that weight class. You've been out many years. It's sort of... I don't think it tarnishes Jon Jones if he loses against Tom Aspinall. I think it's a different time. I think Jon Jones is past his prime. I don't think he's... Like, Tom Aspinall's in his prime. I think he's over the curve. I don't think he can... and these guys are a lot bigger. I think you try your hand and you're still the best light heavyweight of all time. There's no real doubt in that. But the fact he's just trying to get a Stipe fight, hold on to the heavyweight title until then and go, yeah, that's it, guys. That's me done. It's sort of... I don't quite understand the UFC doing so. Because you're... Okay, you get one big payday for Stipe, Jon Jones, but then you are just holding back the paydays you could have with Tom Aspinall, where Tom Aspinall was a huge star. If he beats Jon Jones, massive money, which makes me think Jon Jones is the one holding it out and going, I'm not fighting him. The UFC would definitely want that fight, because why wouldn't they? Jon Jones looking to retire in maybe 2 fights, probably Stipe, and that's it. But if you could really give him some money, probably Tom Aspinall. He probably could do it. But you're going to, it's not just about the money for that event, but you're going to big up Tom Aspinall so much by putting him against Jon Jones, and then he wins. That it just becomes huge for Tom Aspinall and the star he is. And I'll just elevate him so much to the point where, you're going to lose Jon Jones, whatever it is. The UFC's kind of idea normally is to go, okay, well, you're leaving, let's pass it on to the next guy, let's pass the torch. And that's normally how it works in, boxing as well. But there's no sort of idea there. I think it's Jon Jones leading it, but he doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. My thoughts, if that fight were to happen, though... which it could happen. I think if Jon Jones has thrown enough money, I think he would do it. I think it very much depends on how much Jon Jones Stipe, gets in pay-per-views and things, though. Because if it doesn't do as well as what they're thinking, why would they provide the money? They wouldn't. So, look, I think Tom Aspinall is just naturally the bigger guy. John Jones is suited to light heavyweight. Tom Aspinall is a natural heavyweight. And the way he's demolished people, Sergey Pavlovich was meant to be a very, very tough task, very high level, basically rising up as fast as Tom Aspinall has through the heavyweight division. Tom Aspinall dispatches him. And that is very scary for someone like John Jones. Very, very scary. And I think the only person who can really rival me at heavyweight is Francis Ngannou. But whether that still is a thing at the point where Francis Ngannou was in the heavyweight division, he probably could have. But even then, I think it's a tough choice between the two. And sort of edge towards Tom Aspinall there. Even though, Francis Ngannou had some problems with, he got gone to the ground, but he had some problems. He had some sort of niggly injuries, especially in the Garn fight, and I think that helps Tom Aspinall. I think Tom Aspinall's ground game's really good. And I think Francis Ngannou, the way you want to do it is be faster on the feet, faster movement, and have the ability to take him down. And Tom Aspinall has all that. So I think Tom Aspinall is actually the hardest fight for Francis Ngannou in that heavyweight division. John Jones, I just think he hasn't got that weight. I think he's past his peak, and I don't think he's got the weight to be a heavyweight against these guys. Against, say, Daniel Cormier, he has such a height and reach advantage. It helps. But against Tom Aspinall, who beats him in size and then can do well enough on the ground, I think it's tough for John Jones there. I think Tom Aspinall wins it. But yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see Tom Aspinall respectfully going up to him and going, I want this fight. It shows Tom Aspinall wants competition more than anything. I think in that heavyweight division, how much competition is there now? Sergey Pavlovich has been dispatched. Who is going to fight Tom Aspinall after Stipe and John Jones go to retire? I don't see anyone who's a big enough name to go, yeah, that Tom Aspinall name's up here at the top. Really strong following. To who's next? Who's got that strong of a following? And John Jones is up there, but who are you going to fight with him? You're going to need a big name, because otherwise he's going to be steaming through people. And Tom Aspinall, no offence, and it's no offence at all, he's such big a name, he's going to be wanting a massive percentage of a purse to fight anyone, because he's worth it. You take Tom Aspinall out of a fight at heavyweight, the pay-per-view just drops through the floor. I fully expect that's what happens with the pay-per-view. So you've got to think these heavyweights aren't going to fight for 20% of a purse. So they seriously, and this has always been a problem with any fighting, you need two people. You need two people with very similar, or two people with very similar name, like star power. You need that. You need it enough where it's not stupidly outweighted. Between, like, Tom Aspinall, like, you're talking about, Conor McGregor even. It may have outweighted itself, but against Khabib, it didn't. There's other things in that fight where Khabib was just so, the fight made sense. It's the same thing that they got with Michael Chandler. Like, how much outside of just the UFC, like, the people who watch UFC all the time, how many people know Michael Chandler? How many people know Michael Chandler more than Conor McGregor? Or know Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler at the same time? A lot more people, and I'm talking a very high percentage, know Conor McGregor and don't know who Michael Chandler is. And they only know Conor McGregor because of his star power, and they only know, oh yeah, that's Conor McGregor, that's the MMA fighter who also does movies, who also has a whiskey company, who also has this. And that's why you can't get Conor McGregor back in the cage. And Tom Aspinall, he's a heavyweight champion. Francis Ngannou, again, another thing where he was getting paid not enough to make him want to go in there, because he was the star. Everyone watched him because he was just KOing people first round, second round with one punch, and had the hardest shot in the world. Whereas Tom Aspinall, again, the same thing's going to happen if you don't make champions or build up the division to a point where you have enough of a roster below that champion to make it work, as in the championship fights, to make the hype correct. Because in the heavyweight division, you've got such a void between Tom Aspinall. You had Sergey Pavlovich, who was coming up. You've used that name now. Tom Aspinall dispatched him quickly. So who do you use? I think Sergey Pavlovich is probably second in that division. So who do you use that is there? John Jones, he's going to retire. Stipe Miocic, he's retired. He will retire after the John Jones fight and pretty much is retired now. So who do you go to then? I think there's a massive void between Tom Aspinall and the rest of the division, and it just becomes hard to sell pay-per-views when things aren't competitive. Because Tom Aspinall, there'll be certain fans who will always buy UFC pay-per-views, and fans of Tom Aspinall will always buy pay-per-views. But you need that opponent to go, is Tom Aspinall going to lose? Is he going to have a challenge that I want to see? Because if you're paying for 1 round knockouts, it becomes very hard to see it. It worked for McGregor, Jose Aldo, because there's such a fight hype, and Jose Aldo was 10-year champion. He's so massively experienced and was champion, and Conor was a challenger, that it worked. When that 1 round knockout, no one cared. But honestly, if Tom Aspinall just starts dispatching people like I think he will, first or second round with no actual challenge, I think people are just going to get disinterested. And it should be the most interesting division, heavyweight. It's not pound for pound best, it is the best. If you put anyone out on the street to fight, the heavyweight champion is arguably the most weighted, will be the best. And unless you're, like there was a talk of Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira, unless you're pushing Alex Pereira up another division, which then hurts other divisions, you're not going to get that star power fights, and you're not going to make the pay-per-views that Tom Aspinall needs. Because guess what? Tom Aspinall should be asking for a good amount of money. When John Jones and Stipe Miocic retire and go off to the sunset and happy retirement after their next fight, who's the next person? Who's the next star? Tom Aspinall, of course it is. But there's a massive void. And are you really going to start just chugging Pereira up 3 divisions to see? The UFC really needs to... Look, you just need to get... There's certain divisions with lack of star power, and if you've only got one guy in that star power position, you need to start making some more. You really need to think about, right, we got a massive void here. Looking at his ability, we're going to have a massive void, and it's a forecasting of that void. You can't just have one opponent that you think is going to give him a tough fight. It needs to be 2, if not 3, to make sure that you're building up these other guys as well, to make sure you've got other opponents once they reach the pinnacle of that championship of the UFC. So, look, I think that's a bit of a problem for the UFC currently with that, but let me know what you think in the comments. I think John Jones won't fight Tom Aspinall, but if he does, Tom Aspinall wins that. I think he's so bigger of a guy. He's in his prime. His speed is on show, and speed is what John Jones used against a lot of people at light heavyweight. And I think Tom Aspinall's fast enough to get the win there. So let me know what you think if we ever got this fight in the comments. I think if the fight happened, it would be up there with Conor McGregor pay-per-views in terms of sales. So I think it's well worth the UFC trying, and I fully expect they have. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.